And we are live. Hello. Welcome back to Jade the Babe podcast about reflections and things that I'm talking about with myself and with friends, hopefully too, one day soon. So, I'm just going to jump right into it. So, this morning, I believe it came out yesterday, but I listened to it today. But a friend of mine, her name is Greta, and she has this podcast. I'm looking down at my notes here, so I apologize. Podcast, The Thought Experiment called Life. And she just had someone on there, Eagle Skyfire. And this podcast was about shamanism, clinical hypnotherapy, and spiritual awakening explained with Eagle Skyfire. And so it was a really cool podcast. So if you have time, I would recommend checking that out because it's just really cool how they talk about a lot of, really it's just coming back to understanding yourself, what you're growing, what you're needing, all the things that I continue to talk about on here. And so super pumped for that. But all to that to come back to is kind of what I wanted to talk about. And let's see. There was a lot of notes that was coming into watching that podcast and listening to her and listening more about Greta and her story. But one of the things was I want to talk about is it isn't what the item does to us, but the relationship we put behind it is the power we give it. And she was talking about Eagle Skyfire. She's talking about how she loves cooking. It's like her way of giving back to people, her way of giving to her family. She just really loves it. She's a foodie. And I think about just with relationship of everything we do and how it really comes into the relationship we have with things. And it sounds so easy, like, oh yeah, I love that. No problem. But like, when we use food maybe as like a tool when we're overwhelmed or it's like a crutch for something, um, it's coming back into understanding where that dialogue came from. How can we change that dialogue to reroute it to something else? And so this is an example. When I worked in a Montessori classroom, I was thinking of this, just learning about the fascia, right, in the body and how everything was releasing. I had this student and he was just the cutest little blondie. He was so chunky, but he would W sit. And I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's when you're sitting down and your legs are going out. So not ideal for jujitsu at all. And so his parents were always like, he cannot be W sitting. It's not okay. Like their physical therapists, they know his hips aren't going to be okay. And you're just like, okay, like I got to make sure when this person's mother comes that they are not in that position at all. Don't allow them to be in that position. It'll ruin them for life. Like you're taking care of somebody else's precious child the way they want their child to be taken care of, And so what it was coming back to was it was somewhere along the way. It was the position that was the problem. And that was the problem that became the story. And that's when the story started to live in the body. So just that right there, it's like the position, whatever power, whatever the problem was, whatever we identified the problem as, that's a problem. Okay, what's a story behind the problem? We're going to give it a story. Now my body is going to believe that story in my body. So you see how it kind of is connecting back to us. And so, but the fact was that the body was never the enemy in the first place. Our body is just the byproduct of what story was be written. I don't know. I'm just like excited because it's like, oh my gosh, all these realizations. But for the child, he was sitting in the position that felt the most supported to him. And so I think that's where we're always like classifying things as dysfunctions, not working, they're not going the way they should, when really that's not the dysfunction. It's the body telling the body what it needs. It's listening to the body's intelligence of like what it wants to share with you. And that's pretty cool. And I think it's because we're so easy to react. We're so easy to have that fix. We're so easy to scroll to the next thing. Like, if you can sit and be like, how long does your attention span last? That might be a good indication of like, maybe my life's moving a little too fast. Maybe I'm speeding up. I know some men like to listen to their videos and they like to speed it up. And like, when you're listening to something that fast, your brain's trying to there's just all these things happening. And my husband, of course, he's one of those people. He likes to speed it up. And so, but that maybe is why sometimes he has trouble slowing it down, or why we might struggle with slowing it down. If we're able to kind of take that step back and view that, we might realize, oh, what are we like really struggling with here? And so, again, it's just like when we label something as bad, the body doesn't hear instruction. It just feels the restriction, the tension, and all the correction that you're putting onto it. And that's not what that's about. Like, the body has to feel supported. And if the body does feel supported, we're going to show up confident. We're going to show up aware. We're going to show up like, what's up? Let's go, Um, and over time, just with this correction, and this is when your body just stops listening to you, when it's giving you the signs of things that it needs. And we're just like, no, we're just not going to listen to that. I know what it needs. I know better. And that's maybe when your ego starts coming into play. I talked today about jujitsu and how, like, when I was doing jujitsu, I was continuously like fighting my ego. I thought I could fight anybody. I I literally was a small person. I remember rolling with one of my friends, and we would have the best roll. He's like my most favorite roll, Chris. He knows who he is. and and I remember one day he was like, "Jade, I literally could throw you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I said to Chad, I was like, Chris told me today that he literally could throw me. He was like, because he could. And I was like, oh, okay. Do I have quick skills? Do I have quick reactions? Do I have quick like intuition from learning jujitsu? Absolutely. But when it came tide to tide, and if I'm not on the upper hand of maybe bypassing something, tricking something, if someone does get a hold of you, you definitely, at least I have the tools to try to prepare myself to get out of, but people can do some damage, right? So it's just like the realization, right? We all want to think that we're all almighty, all powerful. We can take anyone on no matter what, no matter what situation. But the realization is like, we can't. We can't always. And that's okay. Like, but we have to let go of the ego. We have to detach from that ego and kind of start moving away from that. And let me see. Oh, here's an experiment I want you to think about. Okay. Because I think sometimes we forget to, like, in childhood, we're like, well, everybody grew up in the same house, so they all should have the same experience. Absolutely not. If you've seen a child from infancy grow up into your own children, you can see where even as a mother, where that role inside the womb played a huge part. You could feel their personality inside that womb, where they wanted to be, how they wanted to, what space they took up, what space they didn't take up. And so here we go. Imagine two people encountering the same thing, same moment, same environment, same stimulus. But one body tightens, label it as wrong, unsafe, or something to fix, and the other softens. It meets it with curiosity, neutrality, and even trust. Trust is the big word there. Nothing in the external didn't change, but the experience did completely. So where did that difference come from? Not the thing itself, but the meaning being placed on it. Now let's take a step further. What if much of what we call discomfort isn't coming from the thing itself, but from the relationship we've been taught to have with it? Again, we were talking about that earlier. The guarding, the anticipating, the subtle, this shouldn't be happening. What if that layer is what shapes the nervous system response more than the moment itself? we're always like, oh, that was so traumatic. And it was funny because we were playing catch today. And Greta talked about this in her podcast, how when she was like practicing with her master, whoever it was she was practicing with, like they constantly were like giving them things because they kept giving a reaction to whatever was being given to them. The same when you're playing baseball, playing catch. We were playing basketball and football yesterday, and you're constantly throwing the ball. And Chad kept throwing them at him so that they wouldn't look away, that they wouldn't be scared of it, that they would face it dead on. And then I was just realizing it. It's like those are the reactions of things that are happening around us, right? But if I gave a bad story behind what was happening, that's where it's going to live. That's the story that's going to embed inside my body. And so it's coming into that. And so, again, what if that layer is what shapes the nervous system response more than the moment itself? This isn't about denying reality. Some things are harmful. Some things do require action, change. You gotta move. But everyday experiences, they live in this gray space where the body is just simply responding, but it's your mind that is assigning the story. So, and that story becomes the lens in which you view that story. Mic drop. So, what happens if just for a moment you loosen the meaning? And it's like the aura change for a minute there. So we're not going to force positivity. We're not overriding the body. We're not pushing it to what we want it to believe, right? You're still pushing it, but you're just creating a little space about what is happening, like what is happening in this moment and what you believe it means. And in that space, I think that is where we're able to slow down enough into that present moment where you're able to recognize what's happening. Maybe you're able to just breathe in that moment. And I think being in that moment and listening to yourself and what is being presented, what is coming forward with that information, that's where that's the listening. That's like the listening to yourself. That's like just being there for people, for stories that they keep giving themselves that you don't want, that doesn't need to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like there's stories that we're giving them so much meaning. And I keep saying this, it's like the words we speak out loud, the dialogue we say to ourselves. And every day it's like, I keep telling myself, I'm like courageous, I'm amazing, I'm doing extraordinary things, I'm just putting myself out there, I'm letting it just be what it is, because that's all we can do. And again, if I keep using those words, I am building new words. I'm building new neural pathways in my brain to remember what I need to do and things. And it's just wild. It's wild. And man, I mean, I don't know if I have. Oh, I do. A friend of mine just gave me this book, and my husband likes to. Oh, you can't see it because it's green. But my husband likes to call this my canteen purse. It looks like the invisible purse going in here. Okay, but can you see this book? Okay, The Way to Love: The Last Meditations of Anthony DeMello. And so in this book, it was cool because this might be a little lot, but it's talking about like the detachment from everything, right? Like we come into and we're like detaching our ego, like, oh, I'm better than that person. I could beat that person up. What's up? You know? But it's even deeper. Like when we start thinking of our ego, it's like when we detach ourselves from things. Okay, we're able to detach ourselves from material items, from the brand new car, the brand new Escalade, or the brand new Volkswagen bus. Like, you know what I mean? We can like detach ourselves from those items. Like that doesn't define who I am as a person. Or we detach ourselves from titles. I am Dr. Gloria Sanchez. I don't know. And that is who I am, and it defines who I am, but that's not the essence of who you are. And so that's still your ego, like, coming into play. Um, well, I am a psychiatrist and I am able to heal tons of people. So that's the only thing I am. And it's like, no, there's like somebody behind that too, right? There's a story behind everything, and it's letting go of whatever those things are. And if you keep breaking it down, this kind of goes into like letting go of letting go of your family, like letting go of your mom and dad, or letting go of a son, or letting go of a daughter, or a sister, or a brother, and coming to the terms of not being attached to whatever reaction or outcome or praise or whatever thing you need maybe from that person to feel valid, and like knowing, you know, this is just for me. This is like my thoughts here, and like coming back into earth and the energy we are and how everything just moves. And I think I have a note in here from, and let me see where it was. Your kids screaming outside. Um, oh, I think too, coming into when you think of just religion, you think of whatever story is being told from different religious points of view, like Buddhist or Hinduism or Christianity, whatever it is, like it all kind of comes back into like this spirit or this energy within you, and this healing, and it all is that, right? And like coming back to the earth, and like coming back to like, I don't know, like when you, again, we just experienced our first little earthquake. And like when you realize how unsolid the ground is, that's like, you think you're on such a solid foundation, like you feel like the ground is that what makes you feel safe? And then when you don't have that, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's a little different. Like that's, I kind of took that away. And, and, it's interesting how you feel that. And listening again to this podcast today, one of the things they brought up was about watching Indiana Jones and like the worrisome of like dying, and the realization was like, oh, I used to, like, every time my mom went to go clean or something, I was left at home, I was like, oh my god, is she gonna come back? Like, was worried was something was gonna happen to her, but not knowing where that energy was, not talking about it, not being like, "Are you gonna die?" Like, "What's happening here?" And, I think it's kinda cool because maybe we're too honest sometimes, but we'll figure that out when they we'll cross that road when we come to it. Um, but, being honest with the kids about just reflections or themes or whatever is going on, I think has been the best thing I can do in our relationship with our family, and growing and developing. And I hope you can hear this. I was a little too far away from the mic again. But yeah, I think just showing up, and I don't know, not holding on to things so much. And again, and I think it comes to that story, and as you find what your story is, it starts just unraveling those pieces little bit by bit to get you to where you want to be, and I don't know, it's really exciting to do that. So um I have all these little notes where I was just writing all the things. Oh, let's see. This is a really good one. This is reflections from me reading The Way to Love, and my friend Andrew and I are reflecting on this. He got me this book, and so it's been really awesome. It is the ego behind all things, your father, your mother, husband, family, my children. You have to hate them to let go of the attachment to them. Even that is the ego. Everything outside of I am is an ego. Attachments and desires to flashy things will not bring happiness. But what is happiness? Only few people can describe. Can you describe light to people who have been sitting in darkness all their lives? Can you describe reality to someone in a dream? Understand your darkness, and it will vanish. Then you will know what light is. Understand your nightmare for what it is, and it will stop. Then you will wake up to reality. Understand your false beliefs, and they will drop, and then you know the taste of happiness. If people want happiness so badly, why don't they attempt to understand their false beliefs? And in the false beliefs, that is the question. What are we attaching to? Why is that bothering me? Why does someone, when they speak that way to me, why does it just hits just right in the body? Not in the good way, like what is behind that? And 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 I lost my necklace and I lost my bracelet the other day. And the bracelet was like one of those bracelets that's sealed on you. But Eckhart Tolle, this book, A New Earth, so good. So good. But it is attachment to anything and anyone and everyone, even the earth. To be in space is the ultimate losing the grip of the ego. And it even comes like, I know I'm probably just a little bit out there, but just like simply like we're striving so hard to control every outcome, right? And we're striving so hard, like, well, I have to change, I have to control that change, but like in that control, where's that control coming from? And that's a question like I ask yourselves, like, what are we always trying to control? And was it because we always felt there was a control over us? And maybe that's a dialogue that we've been taught over these years, that maybe that's what we learned in school, But if it's called to you and you want to come to yourself and you want to find what resonates with you, and it just starts with asking those questions and just kind of slowing the space. And there isn't a perfect technique for any of this. It's just sitting with yourself, allowing yourself to be with yourself. And that's very scary and very uncomfortable, but hey, that is my biggest advice, is sit with yourself and see what surfaces. And maybe it might be too much that day. Just close the book, say a little prayer, whatever works for you, and then maybe try again when it feels right. But just little by little, start listening to yourself, start looking around your environment. Doesn't mean we have to drastically start like, take everything out, throw it away. That's not what that means. Just reflect. Why does this upset me? What does this mean to me? Just ask questions. Just ask questions to yourself. And deep down, when you keep asking questions to yourself, answers will start coming. Dialogue will start changing, and you'll start to find yourself in a new way. So that was my little snippet for today. And look forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to do one of each of the kids. I might do one with Ezekiel via live, but I don't know how to do that, so we'll see if I can do that. Otherwise, I'll do his when he gets here in a few weeks at the end of the month. It won't be here till May, but can't wait for him to come visit for a little bit. But Cassius will be on tomorrow, and I'm going to ask the kids some questions that I found on Instagram, and it was like, what questions you want to ask your kids? And I'm excited to see what the answers are. So we're going to do that and see where we go. Excuse me. So let's just take a moment, take a breath as we exit out of here and just, step into the day, whatever feels good for you. And just know that 1% better is something better every day. And just showing up for yourself and honoring yourself and just continuously just giving yourself space. So I'm just going to take a deep breath here. I am safe. I am guided. I am whole. I am learning. I am growing as a human. Take this blessing and go forward in my day. And continue to carry my heart full of love. Amen. All right. Have a great day, guys.